A fellow who does a text editor program of some type asked me a long time ago, he goes, I love the Duke voice, and I was wondering if you would read these commands for me, ta-ta-ta-ta.cn. And I said, sure, whatever. Well, I did it, and I don't know how people find this stuff, but I've landed about a dozen jobs based on this silly thing.
Text edit. About text edit. Chinese text converter. Disk utility. Finder. Grab. Screen. Mail. Script editor. Hide text edit. Hide others. File. New. Close. Save. Save as. Save all. Insert.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. Insert. So that's kind of strange. I don't even know what that's used for. I guess you guys do, most of you being geeks and nerds and what have you, right? What is it used for, you know?
I was going to ask a question.
Oh, okay. What's your question, sir? Let's go back to it.
No, I don't hate. I just found out about Duke Nukem a while ago, people. I love your voice. It's epic.
Thank you.
I found out about the game, so I just have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Can you use your Duke Nukem voice to say something about this sword?
That sword's too big for you. You've got swords of steel. Or aluminum foil, I'm not sure which.
Yes, right here, sir. What's your question? Yes, you.
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
I have a more serious question, actually, that doesn't really relate that much with the Duke stuff. You originally started off as a disc jockey and working in radio, right?
Right.
I'm guessing that was what you had wanted to do as a career beforehand.
I did.
What actually prompted you to go in that direction? What made you want to go into radio in the first place?
Oh, to radio? Okay. I was living in a small town in North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I was 14 years old. And I was inspired by George Carlin, God rest his soul, who in 1975, George Carlin. Yeah! He was the best. So, I'm living in that little town in North Carolina in 1975, and I'm 14 years old, and I listened to his album, FM and AM, and he did a bunch of disc jockey-like characters. And I used to, at school, I would, wonderful, Wino Radio! And my friends at school all said, God, you sound better than the DJs on that radio station. You should go down there and get a job. So one Saturday, I went down to the radio station, and I met the program director there who went by the name of Jimi Hendrix. I know, right? And I said, I want to be on the radio. He goes, yeah, what makes you think you should be on the radio? And I started doing wonderful Wino Radio. He goes, oh, yeah, that's not bad. So he sent me down to their production room in the basement and told me to talk on some records. He goes, you need to learn how to post records. I said, what's that? Do you know what posting is? Talking up to the post of the record. That means talking on the beginning of a record up until where the vocals start. And by then you're done. I got really, really good at it. And I spent like 3-4 hours down in that studio talking on Barry Manilow records. Hey, it's the 70s, okay? And the Bay City Rollers. Anyway, he came down at the end of the day and listened to the tape and said, okay, you're on this Saturday night. So at 14 years old, I had a weekend radio show, and I did 3 or 4 weekends, and he said, you know what, we want to put you on full-time Monday through Friday. Ask your parents if they'll let you do it. And my parents said, keep your grades up, and sure, after dinner, your father will drive you to the radio station, and at midnight, when you sign it off the air, your oldest brother will pick you up every night. And, if you think you can handle it. And so I did. And then I did radio for 30 years, 30-plus years. And I still go back on the air every once in a while. There's a radio station in Los Angeles called K-Earth 101, where I most recently worked. And from time to time, I'll go back and do a radio job just for fun. I don't really have the time for it. But that's what led me into voice acting. I was a wacky morning radio guy and production director for many years. And I used to do character voices for other shows, like... in Los Angeles a few years back, I was the producer for George Lopez. Before he got on TV, he had a radio show. And I did the character voices and produced all the comedy bits for George Lopez. And then Sinbad replaced him. You know who Sinbad is?
Yeah.
So I did voices for him and produced stuff for him. And way back in the day, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mark and Brian. They're a big Los Angeles morning show. But when they were in Birmingham, Alabama, many years ago, I was their producer and did character voices for them. And that all led me into voice acting. I had to do a lot of voices over the years, and I thought radio was going to be my thing. I thought I was going to be a radio star and make big money and be famous for that. But then companies like Clear Channel and Viacom and Cumulus came in, and when deregulation happened from the FCC, they were allowed to buy as many radio stations as they wanted, it seemed. And terrestrial radio in this country went straight to hell. Maybe you've noticed, radio sucks. Yeah. If you think it's just in your town, it's not. Radio sucks everywhere. And the generic disc jockeys and music that you hear over and over again on the radio station in your town, it's the same exact guy and the same exact songs in San Diego, and Oklahoma City, and Portland, Oregon, and Bangor, Maine, and Boston, Massachusetts, and Birmingham, Alabama, everywhere. It's generic radio, and it ruined my career. I actually printed hundreds of bumper stickers that said, "Clear Channel ruined my career." Yeah. And mailed them out to disc jockeys all over the country who lost their jobs. And they were bent. So, sorry, I could go on forever about being pissed off about terrestrial radio, but that's not about what we're here for. So, next question from the gentleman in the hat. Don't speak in an English accent.
They're not really questions as much as suggestions.
Yes.
Me and my friends have been joking about this. We've been going on a bunch of trips. We've been using the Garmin there. And I was thinking you should try and get a hold of some people.
I have tried that. I have done that. I own a TomTom, and Homer Simpson is the voice I use most often. I would love to. You know what? I tried to contact them and said I'd love to do the Duke Nukem voice for your TomTom navigators, and no response whatsoever.
I'm sure every one of them here would buy a car.
Would you? I'd buy a car. You know what's really cool about? So you're driving along, and the navigator comes on and goes, "Go 2 more blocks, then turn right, asshole." I actually have attempted to get TomTom to talk to me about that, and they just...
And second, with you were talking about your album thing. You were talking about rapping.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking, and this would be hilarious, is if you followed after William Shatner and did the same thing he did, only with the Duke Nukem voice, because that would actually be really fun.
Picture yourself in a boat on a river, with hedging trees and rolling sky.
I actually want to really do